This was a part of a previously confidential portion of this report. How surprising is this, and how serious is this?
Well, I think it's extremely serious, but not, of course, very surprising. You know, there's been a growing chorus amongst all sorts of government officials that the Chinese have a very vast program oriented at penetrating almost every aspect of American businesses, and of course also European and other Asian countries' businesses, specifically to steal information of this type. And you know, the real danger is not necessarily that they took a bunch of information on the new Aegis defenses or any of our anti-ballistic missile defenses, but that they've actually manipulated or changed some of this information and have a capability to disable it should we go to a conflict in Taiwan. And that's really, I think, what a lot of the sort of real scare of this report is.
So, you know, what's the potential here? What's the threat here?
Well, I think the threat is multifaceted, and at some aspect, you know, attacking military information is a standard part of espionage, and it's not something the United States would typically say is above the board or beyond the pale. The Defense Science Board that released this report, you know, they actually advocated quite a number of different things in terms of changing the way the Defense Department does business. And one of the problems here is that in order to build any of these giant weapon systems, the Defense Department subcontracts, you know, thousands of pieces of it to thousands of tiny little companies all across the world. And that supply chain, as they call it, is very difficult to protect. And so anytime any one of these small companies gets penetrated, you know, you're looking at potentially loss of a vast amount of information. And that's really some of the scare factor and some of the recommendations in the report, which is, you know, there's a public portion of this report that's something like 166 pages, and it's extremely well done. I mean, the Defense Department is not sitting back and just hoping someone fixes this. They are actively working to protect themselves.
And yet, what holes does this attack reveal in U.S.'s own cyber defense? I mean, are these gaping holes that we're talking about, or are these holes we already knew about?
Well, I think the deep down thing in the report is that they say even when we attack ourselves, when we apply what they call a red team to some of these military installations, we almost always are extremely effective. And that's not even some of the sort of more serious style of attacks. They have a bunch of different tiers, and you know, they point at some of the Russian incursions, because this is by no means only a Chinese problem. So you know, they're saying that we are at this point so weak that it's very hard for us to even say what was penetrated. And so that's actually one of the more interesting things about this report, is that they're coming forward and saying not only do we know we were penetrated for these programs, but we know who it was. And that's at least a small step forward.
As I understand it, Dave, this report also reveals that certain techniques, cyber spying techniques that the U.S. has had a monopoly on for decades, are now being employed by other countries, including and especially China, right?
I mean, that's correct. I mean, you know, part of the many things that are probably being attacked is our own sort of cyber command and control, and you know, we're starting to stand up cybercom, as you now know. These are all, you know, very high profile targets for the Chinese to attack.